What if the difference between someone who feels financially trapped at 45 and someone who feels calm, stable, and quietly confident comes down to a number most people ignore in their 20s? Not $1 million, not financial freedom, not early retirement, just $50,000. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most middle-class Americans and Europeans will earn enough money in their lifetime to build serious wealth, but they will still struggle. Not because they're lazy, not because they're reckless, but because they never protect the one turning point that changes how money behaves. Today, we're going to talk about the $50,000 threshold nobody discusses, why it's more important than doubling your salary, why most people accidentally delay it for years, and how missing it quietly reshapes the next 2 decades of your life. Stay with me, because this isn't about getting rich. It's about understanding the moment when money stops being fragile and starts becoming structural. A very normal life. Let's begin with someone ordinary. You're 29. You live in Chicago, or Austin, or Manchester, or Munich. You earn $78,000 a year in the US, or €58,000 in Germany, or £50,000 in the UK. You're not struggling. You're not wealthy either. After taxes in the US, maybe you take home around $4,600 per month. In Europe, perhaps €3,000 to €3,400, depending on deductions. Now let's look at the monthly structure. Rent, $1,850. Car payment, $420. Insurance, $160. Utilities, $250. Groceries, $500. Student loan, $380. Subscriptions, $140. Gym, $60. Eating out and social life, $450. Phone, $95. Miscellaneous, $300. You're left with maybe $800 to $1,000 in a disciplined month. You feel responsible. You save $700. You invest $600. You think, I'm doing everything right. And you are. But here's what nobody tells you. At $600 per month invested, it will take you nearly 7 years to reach $50,000, assuming no interruptions. 7 years of consistency, 7 years without major setbacks, 7 years of not upgrading your fixed costs. And that's where things get interesting. Why the first $50,000 feels invisible. When you have $8,000 invested, a 7% return is $560 per year. That's $46 per month. You barely notice it. At $20,000, 7% is $1,400 annually, about $116 per month. Still modest. Even at $35,000, 7% is $2,450 per year. Helpful, but not life-changing. So progress feels slow, abstract, unrewarding. You log into your brokerage account and think, this isn't doing much. And this is the psychological danger zone. Because the early phase of investing is structurally the hardest. Money grows proportionally, not emotionally. Your effort feels large, the visible reward feels small. And when humans don't see visible reward, they shift behavior. Not dramatically, just slightly. The subtle lifestyle shift. You get promoted. Your salary rises from $78,000 to $92,000. After tax, that's maybe $700 more per month. You tell yourself you'll increase investing. Instead, you move to a nicer apartment, $350 more monthly. You upgrade your car, $200 more monthly. You travel a bit more, $150 more monthly. Nothing outrageous, no luxury watch, no reckless spending, just smoother living. And suddenly, your surplus is the same as before. You reset your timeline to $50,000, not because you failed, because your fixed costs expanded. This is the quiet system flaw. The modern financial environment is optimized for monthly thinking. Everything is framed as affordable in installments. A $48,000 car becomes $689 per month. A $3,000 vacation becomes 4 payments of $750. We don't think in totals, we think in monthly tolerances, and that delays structural accumulation. The turning point explained with simple math. Let's slow down and look at something important. At $50,000 invested, with a moderate 7% annual return, that's $3,500 per year, nearly $300 per month. Now your money covers real expenses, your insurance, your groceries, your utilities. That's the shift. Before $50,000, your money is symbolic. After $50,000, it becomes functional. It starts participating in your life. And once money participates, your psychology changes. The psychological barrier. Why do so many people stall before $50,000? Because humans are wired for visible progress. A new apartment is visible. A new car is tangible. A growing investment account is invisible. You cannot sit inside compound interest. You cannot take a photo with it. So the brain assigns more reward to lifestyle upgrades than balance sheet upgrades. This isn't weakness, it's biology. But financially intelligent people understand this bias. They don't eliminate lifestyle improvements. They delay structural upgrades until after the turning point. Temporary compression, permanent flexibility. That's the trade. Two 35-year-olds. Let's compare two people at 35. Person A hovered between $10,000 and $25,000 invested for a decade. They saved occasionally, upgraded lifestyle gradually, reset during emergencies. At 35, they have $22,000 invested. At 7%, that's $1,540 per year. Person B protected the climb, delayed apartment upgrades, kept the car longer, avoided fixed cost inflation. At 30, they crossed $50,000. By 35, they may have $120,000 to $140,000 at 7%. That's $8,400 to $9,800 per year. Now their money covers rent for several months or fully funds retirement accounts annually. The gap between these two isn't intelligence, it's structural patience. The real long-term impact. If you reach $50,000 by 30 and continue consistent investing, by 40 you might approach $200,000 to $250,000. By 50, potentially $500,000 to $700,000 under moderate returns. Not fantasy, not extreme, just math and time. At $600,000 with 7%, that's $42,000 per year. That's real income replacement. But that entire trajectory hinges on protecting the early base. Miss the turning point and the timeline stretches dramatically. The confidence shift. Before $50,000, financial confidence is income-based. If your job feels unstable, you feel unstable. After $50,000, confidence becomes asset-based. You can survive 6 months, maybe 9. You can negotiate harder, switch careers strategically, decline toxic environments. This optionality compounds professionally, which increases income, which accelerates assets further. It becomes a reinforcing loop, but the loop only starts after the base exists. Why this isn't about extreme frugality? You don't need to reject enjoyment. You don't need to optimize every coffee. You don't need side hustles at 4 a.m. What you need is awareness of fixed costs. Variable spending doesn't trap you. Permanent obligations do. The difference between $1,850 rent and $2,400 rent is $6,600 per year. Over 5 years, that's $33,000, 2/3 of the turning point. That's how subtle the delay can be. The system encourages the delay. Buy now, pay later culture, zero-down car financing, lifestyle branding, social comparison, all normalize living just below stress level. You're told you deserve it, and maybe you do, but timing matters. Upgrading at $120,000 invested is different from upgrading at $18,000. Sequence matters more than intensity. The identity shift. Once you cross $50,000, something subtle happens. You stop chasing financial excitement because you see the system working. You stop looking for 40% returns. You stop gambling with options or speculative cycles, because 7% on $50,000 feels meaningful. Your behavior stabilizes. Stability builds wealth quietly. Zooming out, most middle-class households will earn millions over a lifetime, yet many reach 50 with minimal assets, not because of income, because of structural expansion before accumulation. The $50,000 turning point is the moment money behaves differently. It's when compounding becomes visible. It's when your stress decreases slightly. It's when time feels less threatening, and almost nobody talks about it. Because it's not glamorous. It doesn't sell seminars. It doesn't create dramatic thumbnails. But structurally, it's the inflection point where returns feel noticeable, risk feels manageable, decisions feel calmer. Financial content often skips from pay off debt to build